From the very beginning, Acupuncturists Without Borders was built by people with extraordinary hearts. People who listened openly to the person right in front of them, especially in the hardest moments. When AWB promised to show up, we showed up. Again and again, even when the path was uncertain, even when the need felt overwhelming. This is the story of 20 years of heart, of courage, compassion, and community. In those early days, there were no guides, no rules, no maps. Only people in pain, only communities in crisis. We had little beyond courage, commitment, and the desire to help. So we went, wherever people gathered after a disaster occurred. We worked in mud and rain, in smoke and dust. Often tables, no chairs, just presence. Wherever someone could sit down, that became our clinic. People came to us in tears, exhausted, unsure if loved ones were alive. Many already lived with chronic pain. Now it was layered with fear and grief. And then something miraculous happened. A small spark of relief appeared. I can sleep. My pain is gone. I feel like myself again. Each moment of healing became a lifeline. When one parent slept, their children found peace. When a grandparent's pain eased, an entire neighborhood breathed easier. Helping one person created ripples of recovery. A pebble dropped into water, reaching far beyond the one who was treated. That's why Acupuncturists Without Borders keeps coming back, until a community tells us that they have received what they needed. Walter Bosk was one of the original cohort of community activists that helped develop the 5-point needle ear acupuncture protocol in the early 1970s at Lincoln Hospital in the South Bronx. Diana Freed and her colleagues from around the U.S. took this treatment to New Orleans to support people devastated by Hurricane Katrina. Diana then founded Acupuncturists Without Borders in 2005. Here are Walter and Diana.
Dear friends and members of the Acupuncture Without Borders, the first thing in order is to congratulate AWB on their 20th anniversary. Congratulations. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Walter Bosque del Rio, and in the 1970s, I was in nursing school, and I joined the Young Lords, who had just taken over Lincoln Hospital, and they wanted me to volunteer for a summer. So I did that. I volunteered that summer, then returned to school in September. But I was disappointed with school because I had met all these revolutionary and radicals at Lincoln Hospital that I wanted to be a revolutionary. So I dropped out of nursing school. My old friend Mickey Melendez, who I befriended in the 60s, and he was the organizer, the main organizer to bring the Young Lords together at Westbury College. And we had become friends in the 60s when we were trying to do salsa promoters. His cousin was a salsa promoter, so he wanted to be one. And at 15, I became an amateur salsa promoter. And that's how we met. And we've been friends ever since. And he recruited me into the Young Lords, and I couldn't say no. So I dropped out of high school. I dropped out of nursing school and started working full-time at Lincoln Detox. In 1971, they hired me full staff, and they also hired Matula Shakur. We became the best of friends. We became part of the medical collective, which we then turned into the acupuncture collective. And there's a lot of work that was done in those 8 years, from 1970 to 1978. We created the 5-point protocol. We created the acupuncture clinic, and eventually the acupuncture school. But by 1978, we become too radical, so they got rid of us. And the late Michael Smith incorporated NAVA, which they used our 5-point detox protocol. And we never got any credit for that, so that's the way the cookie crumbles. Anyway, I want to congratulate the Acupuncture Without Borders. I met Diana in Puerto Rico in 2017, right after Hurricane Maria. We worked together and we did acupuncture and walked around the community, helped people out who were traumatized from the hurricane. And from that point on, I kept coming to Puerto Rico to work with SAP, Salud y Acupuntura para el Pueblo, Jose Santini's collective. And so I've been doing that back and forth for the last almost 10 years. So the main thing today is 20 year anniversary of the Acupuncture Without Borders. I met Diana right after Hurricane, but everybody else I met on Zoom or on the internet. But last year I was invited to go to San Diego, and I told Carla that I was coming to California, so we had a big fundraiser and I met a lot of people. So I want to send a big shout out to Abby, to Carla, to the Reverend, and to all the other people that I met at my short stay in San Diego. But the main thing today is to celebrate the 20th anniversary of Acupuncture Without Borders. Thank you, Carla, for being there and helping me out. I'll see you soon.
Hi, I'm Diana Freed, founder and former executive director of Acupuncturists Without Borders. I started Acupuncturists Without Borders in 2005 after Hurricane Katrina struck New Orleans, and after I witnessed the terrible and racist neglect of the U.S. government. I felt a deep call to act and gathered acupuncturists from around the country to go to New Orleans and see what we could do. When we started working in the streets and in shelters and in tent camps, and we saw people weeping and resting and exhaling for the first time in weeks and saying to us that they finally felt like themselves again, I understood that this medicine could help heal not only individuals but whole communities, and I felt drawn to do something more expansive. Over the next 15 years that I was involved, we went to places like Haiti and Nepal, Greece, Israel, the West Bank, and all over the United States, responding to people in crisis, people dealing with chronic poverty and neglect, environmental devastation. And we worked under trees and in tents and in makeshift clinics where people lined up and began to experience a moment of calm and of love. And we realized and learned that the real medicine wasn't just the needles. Most importantly is how we showed up with open hearts, without an agenda, and just offering our love. This work changed me profoundly over the years. It was certainly the greatest spiritual challenge of my life, learning to lead and to listen, to follow the call of service, making endless mistakes, and often feeling really terribly about those mistakes, and also, most importantly, perhaps receiving incredible, endless inspiration from the volunteers and the people we served. I'm so proud of the work that continues and expands, led by wise and skilled people. Meanwhile, I have been deep in my own healing that I have needed to do since doing the work of AWB. I have come to see that healing and justice are intertwined, and that when we show up with compassion, even amidst disaster and conflict, that the heart of humanity reveals itself again and again. And that most importantly, the work starts here and then expands from here, hopefully out to the world. Thank you so much.
Susan Reed was one of AWB's first volunteers. These are her reflections on the development of 5NP, the beginning of AWB, and how they have influenced her work throughout the years. Well, 9/11/2001 was bad enough. My brother-in-law's family lived next door to the World Trade Center, with their kids coming home from school, witnessing bodies falling from windows. But then the inspirational generosity of the practitioners from Lincoln Hospital rushing down to Ground Zero to treat first responders with the NATA protocol took some of the sting out of it. Time passed, then Hurricane Katrina came along and did a terrible number on New Orleans in 2005. At the time, I was a clinical supervisor for a 5L student named Diana Freed. She couldn't bear the thought of the death and destruction in NOLA, and she set about calling practitioners all over the country to see about setting up teams of acupuncts to go to New Orleans and help folks deal with the trauma of it all using the NATA protocol. She charmed me into going along with her to a few places around the country to train practitioners how to do it, and how to set up free sidewalk and parking lot clinics and find safe places to sleep. I had the honor of leading the last NOLA team in 2006, and a couple of years later, leading another team responding to the difficulties due to flooding in Iowa. Around that time, a number of practitioners had had the NOLA experience, and maybe had also attended a community-wide seminar on holding free group clinics all over the place. Here in Portland, Maine, 4 of us started what I think was the first free AcuClinic for veterans and their families in the country. I am very proud that my colleagues kept that going for 12 years. Free treatment for vets and their families every Tuesday night for 12 years. The responses of folks to their treatments were very touching. We were the only ones in the state doing this at the time, and groups would drive to Portland together. Portland is foodie heaven, and have dinner together and come for their treatments. A vet with such a group told me that they couldn't believe the change in a particular friend. At dinner one night, somebody told a joke, and everyone, including the friend, burst out laughing. Shortly, everyone else got quiet, watching this vet with considerable combat experience laughing his head off. Having known him for years, his friends told me that they had never seen him laugh. They attributed his change in spirit to the treatments. Such a gift. When COVID hit, pretty much everyone here closed their practices. AWB came out with a brilliant sheet of information called Self-Care for Health Workers to Relieve Stress and Burnout, which was very helpful at the time and continues to be. These days, I am very concerned about the state of things and worry that not everyone will have access to the medical care that they need. In the spirit of AWB and with their permission, I have printed up a gazillion of their wonderful sheets. I have purchased as many ear seeds as I can possibly afford, plus finger rollers for another form of self-care. And I am beginning to offer my services and seeds and rollers to any person or group who would like to learn the NATA protocol and a few other little things. I take my acupressure books with me to share with folks so that they can see that there are many other simple ways to treat conditions for yourself, your family, and your neighbors. My fee for this service is, if I teach you, you must promise that you will teach one other person. In the spirit of AWB, I call my free little program In Good Hands. Care to join me? After Hurricane Katrina, a small team of acupuncturists came together, people who would become the foundation of AWB. The willingness of AWB volunteers to collaborate as team members, try different approaches, make mistakes, and act without certainty defined everything that followed. Since Katrina, AWB has worked in California, Colorado, Arizona, Hawaii, and Washington State after lethal fires, in Tucson, Orlando, Las Vegas, Parkland, and Sandy Hook after mass shootings, in Joplin, Oklahoma City, and Minnesota after tornadoes, in New York, Boulder, and Central Texas after devastating floods, during lava flows in Hawaii, and after hurricanes Harvey, Irma, Maria, Ian, Helene, and Milton hit broad swaths of the U.S. and Puerto Rico. 20 years post-Katrina, AWB's disaster relief work is still going strong. Here's acupuncturist Abby Seaver, who recently helped lead 9 months of AWB's first responder firefighter support with the Integrative Healers Action Network after the 2025 fires in Los Angeles.
Hi, my name is Abby Seaver, and I'm a licensed acupuncturist here in Southern California, and I've worked with AWB for a number of years and wanted to help celebrate their 20 years of service. I've worked in Tijuana with refugees in the shelters and a clinic down there, and also with the InSpot at various events for first responders and homeless veterans. And I was asked last January, when the fires broke out in Los Angeles, to help organize and set up teams to work with the first responders there who had watched their surroundings reduced to ashes and were faced with some deep trauma and some pretty serious toxicity. And we worked with iHand clinics, which was a wonderful experience, and it showed me how important it is for us to collaborate with other healthcare workers in these situations, and the difficulty sometimes in finding spaces to work safely and effectively for the benefit of the communities. And one thing that I love about AWB is that they really support individual acupuncturists and groups of acupuncturists within their communities to support their communities. And I think that singleness of purpose and support is really valuable, and I just love working with them. So thank you, AWB.
And here's Josh, who coordinated community first responders in Kerrville, Texas, after the devastating floods in July 2025. He describes his first ear acupuncture experience.
Yeah, I mean, we're in kind of a unique environment here. We've been out here for about a month now, and we've been doing search and recovery operations, and it starts at 6 o'clock in the morning, getting up and getting ready for it, and then we're out here all throughout the day, and we kind of start winding things down around 5 o'clock at night, and it's a lot of stress. My role here is I'm in charge of all the operations for search and recovery. And so there's a lot of elements involved with that, a lot of resources that go involved with that. So I have to manage a whole lot of people. They're all volunteers, and so there's a lot of different stresses pulling me in 100 different directions at every moment. Yeah. And for you guys to come out here, we wanted to bring you in here for our teams so that they had an opportunity to decompress and de-escalate after being out on the river all day looking for human remains. It's a very stressful thing to do. And so we just wanted to make sure to have a good resource to have our people be able to calm down and unwind and just balance themselves before we send them home again. And your team's been out here, for 3 weeks at least by now, and it's been so effective for so many of our members. We see them go from being all wound up to sitting in this chair, falling asleep, and then just you guys just let them lay there and do their thing. And I'm not always the best at taking care of myself, and so last week one of your workers really encouraged me to stop everything I was doing and get in the chair, because she saw that I was off my baseline and I was really stressed out and I was struggling with pain. And so I went through I think at first I just she put in a series of ear seeds so I could keep doing everything that I was doing without taking the time to rest, and it was actually very effective. I left them in for longer than, I think they lasted 6 or 7 days before they needed to come out, and I was trying to protect them as much as possible. And I was sleeping better at night, and I was better focused during the day. I was able to do some of the pressure that I was taught to close my eyes and just kind of focus on one task at a time when all the chaos is happening, which was super helpful. And then yesterday your team came out here, and what's your name? Kifri. Sorry, I meet everybody for the first time 3 times at least. But Kifri observed me being in a very stressed out state yesterday. We had a lot of negative things that were happening, and some positive things that were happening, but they were causing me a lot of extra work. And so she walked over and kind of did a last call for acupuncture, and you look like you really need it type of thing. And I came over, and she encouraged me to take the time to not just do the ear seeds, but to do the full thing. And she put me in the chair and got the needles set in, and she kind of protected my bubble and kept everybody away from me long enough for me to relax and decompress. And I did just that, and it was incredible. I was able just to lay there with my eyes closed, pray, recenter myself, and I spent some time with God, and spent some time in some peace and some quiet. And like I said, she did a great job protecting my space. As people are trying to come over. What's that?
How'd you sleep last night?
Oh yeah, like a rock. I hit the bed, which is like for me, I've struggled with insomnia because I had a brain injury, and so that's one of the hardest things I deal with all the time. And I didn't take any medication last night. I brushed my teeth, and I was so sore. I just laid down, and I didn't feel like I was tired. But as soon as the lights were out, I was on the pillow. I was out, and I woke up in the same position I fell asleep in. It was just like I slept so good, and yeah, I got up with less pain this morning. I think my body needed it so bad. And so yeah, it was incredible. And then we just went through a second round of it right now today, and again I wasn't quite as stressed out today as I was yesterday, but it was a long day, and it was really nice just to lay there, recenter myself again, and just take the time to decompress. And I feel like I'm back to myself again, and I can keep doing the mission. So your guys' services are critical for a mission like this one, and have been very helpful for me, and I've observed it be very helpful for my team as well. So
thanks so much for sharing this. We don't get to hear from everybody, and we love to hear stories like this. We do all the time, so this will help us to educate other people and encourage people to give this a try.
Absolutely.
So, thanks a lot.
Our work in Puerto Rico since Hurricane Maria in 2017 demonstrates the evolution of how we've strengthened our disaster responses over the years, by training and working side by side with local practitioners and community leaders to support communities coping with short and long-term trauma. Take a look at our AWB team in Puerto Rico today.
My name is Dr. Arulu Castro. I'm naturopathic medicine doctor. We represent Acupuncturists Without Borders here in Puerto Rico.
Acupuncturists Without Borders has been working in Puerto Rico since Hurricane Maria in 2017. And together we have continued to support our communities through earthquakes, the pandemic, and tropical storms. Throughout the years, we have shown up with presence and care, offering spaces for grounding, connection, and healing across the island. What stands out most of the work is the moments we see our community soften, reconnect, and feel safe again. And to witness people and to accompany families and neighbors as they rebuild with dignity, strength, and hope. We see resilience in every circle we hold, and we feel the strength that comes with simply being present for each other. This work has changed us too, reminding us that healing is collective and that compassion shared in community can transform lives, including our own. We are truly honored to continue this work as a team and as part of the communities we serve, walking together in healing and solidarity across Puerto Rico.
I'm Dr. Lulu Castro.
I'm Dr. Nancy Alicea.
I'm Dr. Katia Martel.
I'm Dr. Crisia Torres.
I'm Dr. Pablo Ortiz.
And we are
Acupuncturists Without Borders, Puerto Rico.
By 2006, the trauma of war gave new direction to AWB's mission. Service members returning from Iraq and Afghanistan faced complex PTSD with limited options for care. We trained acupuncturists to use ear acupuncture to help veterans cope with trauma, pain, and addiction, as AWB's Military Stress Recovery Project grew into a network of over 40 grassroots clinics nationwide. After many years, the VA recognized the value of this work and began reimbursing credentialed acupuncturists for treating veterans. The experience of caring for veterans, military personnel, and their families taught us that trauma healing transcends politics, religion, and beliefs. This medicine is for everyone, a principle that has guided AWB's work for 20 years. Here are the words of acupuncturist Val Talento, who helped start the first AWB clinic for veterans in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Half a dozen of us ran the Albuquerque Veterans Acupuncture Clinic for over 10 years before the VA began providing acupuncture benefits to veterans. It was one of the most profound and rewarding experiences of my professional career. Here are just a few of the experiences the veterans shared with us in their own words. These sessions have helped me cope with panic episodes. This has really been an improvement in my overall outlook on life. I used to wait for life to end. Now I have hope. This program is doing a lot for me. I'm able to be in crowds, socialize with people like I used to, and laugh more. I had a severe panic attack that started before the last treatment session. One of the doctors was expert in applying a massage technique to my upper back in addition to the needles in the ears. It calmed my breathing down immediately. This has never happened before without medication. Since attending these sessions, my sleep issues have been solved. I really enjoy the doctors, the camaraderie of the group, and the way I feel for days after. Thank you. I don't know if it's just been a good week or if it's the acupuncture. I walked out last week after my first treatment. I felt good, and that feeling never went completely away. First time in a long time. I'm back, and next week I'm bringing my wife. Another good week. Today, there are still AWB clinics for veterans, such as the InSpot in San Diego, which also serves firefighters, police officers, first responders, and their families. As AWB's work grew in the US and around the world, we realized our practitioner training needed to grow as well. Our goal was to prepare practitioners to work in challenging field conditions, work together on strong, supportive teams, and be able to start ongoing projects that fit the needs of their communities. We've continued to deepen our training offerings over the years to help practitioners better understand the biology of trauma and use other trauma-informed therapies beyond ear acupuncture. When COVID hit, we took the leap to move all our training online, which has helped AWB reach more people in even more places than ever. Here's Melanie Rubin, who began professionalizing AWB's training program in 2009.
Hi, this is Melanie Rubin, and I'm going to do a little explanation of my work with Diana Freed and Carla Kassler and AWB on the Healing Community Trauma program for more than a decade. So I met Diana in the spring of 2009, and I'm looking over here at my little notes, and she asked me to come to AWB basically to help redevelop the Healing Community Trauma program, because I had a background as an instructional designer, which means that I have a Master's of Education in the art and science of teaching adults. And so I worked with Diana and then later with Carla for a number of years, revising that program, enhancing that program. Diana had incredible vision in creating that training, and we did enhancements in terms of like learner engagement and making things more active and adding music and movement and games and fun and color and upgrading the PowerPoint slides and that sort of thing. And so that training is still going on to this day, as you know, and it's been an incredible boon to the organization, again, due to Diana's foresight, I think. But obviously the training has trained thousands of people at this point around the country to be leaders in trauma recovery, which has been a main purpose. It's also served as bread and butter for the organization, which is fantastic, so that the organization can do its good work. And it's also given acupuncturists a way to get their CEUs in a way that's inspiring. Oops, we got a dog over here. Dog that came to join me. This is not my dog. I'm visiting somewhere. Anyway, so it's been a great program for AWB, all in all, and for acupuncturists, giving them a way to get their CEUs in a way that's inspiring and fun. And we even had many people who came back multiple times for the program. For me personally, being involved with that program was an incredible opportunity, not just in terms of the travel, but I would say the number one thing was that every single time that we did that training, I was so inspired by the people that I met, the acupuncturists who were so dedicated to service. So it was a big dog and pony show. It still is, I'm sure, to do that training. And so each time I would think, oh God, this is going to be exhausting. And then every time I would be so inspired and energized every time I came back from that training. So I am grateful to have had the opportunity to share a little bit about it and what it meant to me personally to be involved. And of course, now that training during COVID has evolved to be also an online program, which continues to support more and more acupuncturists around the world. And I hope AWB and that training program will continue for many, many years to come. And sending love and blessings to everyone who's involved. Thank you.
By 2009, AWB was invited to provide treatments and training in communities across international borders. In Nepal, supporting women and children who had survived trafficking, factory workers, and former guerrilla fighters. In Mongolia, addressing the profound social dislocation and high rates of alcoholism as communities transitioned from nomadic to urban life. In Mexico, reaching people with limited access to healthcare. And in Ecuador, assisting communities grappling with environmental devastation caused by corporate extraction. We called these trips World Healing Exchanges that combined service, training, and learning about indigenous healing practices. AWB's multiple trips to Nepal included training for local health workers and acupuncturists. Training had an unanticipated impact many years later. 3 days after the devastating earthquake in 2016, AWB trained Nepali practitioners were already out in rural villages providing treatments. Over the next 6 months, acupuncturists from the US and EU came to help and provided 60,000 treatments to earthquake survivors. This is Digi Lodisamba, reflecting on AWB's work in Mongolia.
Happy anniversary to Acupuncture Without Borders. It's already 20 years. And I met with Acupuncture Without Border family in 2009 in Mongolia. They come visit Mongolia, train the acupuncturists from Mongolia, and we all together, American and Mongolian acupuncturists, visited to Arhanga Amak, and we stayed nearby Tamil River, where didn't have any phone coverage. Even people brought some iPhones, there were no coverage, we cannot use it. And to call to the city, we hike to the mountain or we stand on the top of the toilet. This moment's very funny and very good memory to me. Since then, I communicated with other AW members from United States, and some of them visited to me to Belgium, and some of them visited back to Mongolia, did some training to the Mongolian National Center for Mental Health for the alcohol addiction. So our connection continued more than 10 years, and I want to say again, happy anniversary and good luck for all the members.
AWB's first major international disaster response was in Haiti after the 2010 earthquake. With no acupuncture profession in the country, we deployed 8 teams over 6 months, treating thousands of people. Then we began training Haitian healthcare workers and community activists to offer the 5-needle protocol in their own neighborhoods, equipping them with tools that worked best for their communities. Empowering local leaders and fostering sustainable community-led healing through training became an essential principle of our work and guides our current work more than ever. Acupuncturist Julia Rainieri helped lead AWB's initial training in Haiti, including mentoring Louisant El Cid, who has provided leadership in the AWB Haiti project for 14 years. He and his team are still providing care, despite incredible obstacles. Here, Julia reads one of Louisant's reflections, sent recently as Hurricane Melissa approached the Caribbean.
It was a Wednesday morning when a group of American citizens arrived at Camp Matthew 25 on March 30th. I was in charge of the clinic, and they explained to me the work they had come to do. I immediately contacted Dr. Belfort, and he told me that working with them was a very good thing, and that it would help people who were stressed. I talked to everyone in the camp, and the work began. Many people took acupuncture treatment. Children and adults were happy to take it. What was amazing was the effect the treatment had on people, and they fell asleep quickly. Something extraordinary that day. After that, I talked to the people in charge so that we could get help from AWB. It was in 2012 that I took my first training from AWB with Julia Ranieri and Doris Johnson as the clinic managers in Haiti. A job that marked my life, that made me feel like a responsible leader in the community where I am. These are all things that gave me my passion to connect with AWB. Many beautiful testimonies and experiences that I will never forget. The first beautiful moment was the first time Haitians were introduced to this therapy, and they showed a lot of enthusiasm continuing to do it. It is extraordinary for someone to show such level of understanding. People ask me when they will get this thing again. People say they were very stressed. They wanted to get up and run so much the stress level was very high in their heads. They could not sleep. They slept through the night. It became a mental shock for them. What they left was physical, mental, and bodily pain that became worse. The children were crying often and they felt bad. There were a lot of patients at all levels who needed help. And one fine day, AWB came to bring this solution to them. People started sleeping normally, their stress decreased, and their pain subsided. All these beautiful moments marked their lives as the heads of the clinics. There were several moments in my career with AWB that marked life as an experience for life. This work was the channel. People came to me in the community, and I became more important and respected because I am a person. When they are stressed, when they need medical help, I am there to help them with acupuncture therapy. I became a leader for people I come in contact with every day. People came to discover something else that they did not know, an acupuncture treatment system that is easy and free to reduce stress in their heads. It has become easy for people to do acupuncture treatment because there are several clinics in several places. In the past, it was very difficult for them, but today, thanks to AWB, they have an effective medical solution. All this gives people more hope to live because they know they will find relief from their problems.
And Graham Marks, who also served in Haiti, shares the following memory of the importance of receiving the generosity of the people you serve.
There are too many amazing moments in my AWB experience to relate here, but the one that still brings tears to my eyes was in Haiti. We treated all day near the epicenter of the earthquake. There was hardly a structure standing, and the local citizens were living in makeshift tents. Food was scarce. As evening approached, they asked us to share a meal with them. Cognizant of our privilege as Americans and not wanting to deplete resources, we refused. They insisted. We finally understood that accepting hospitality was more important than the practical concerns. As we shared a joyous meal of red beans and rice together in the midst of disaster, I learned that our host's spirit was generous and strong. It is a memory I will always treasure.
By 2014, AWB was called to expand its international work to support people coping with war, violence, and torture. We created the Middle East Medicine of Peace program, helping to train Israelis and later Palestinians to bring trauma healing care to their own communities. Karen Asolin and her colleagues spearheaded training for Israeli practitioners and the development of AWB Israel as an autonomous NGO, and acupuncturist Nawal Awad began leading AWB training for Palestinian practitioners in the West Bank. She is now coordinator of AWB's Palestinian Practitioner Training Program. You can hear directly from Karen and Nawal and learn more about AWB's decade of work in Israel and the West Bank in the digital booklet that accompanies this presentation. Today, AWB remains more committed than ever to supporting trauma healing and peace in this region. In 2016, AWB began working in the European Union. Millions were fleeing to the EU from Syria, Afghanistan, and parts of Africa, escaping violence and the growing impact of climate change. We focused our support in Greece, where over 65,000 refugees were stranded in camps across the country. For 2 years, AWB teams provided direct services, and we continued our commitment to developing sustainability by training Greek practitioners to offer locally led ongoing care. Amy Schroeder, an AWB volunteer who has worked with AWB in many places, describes her experiences working in Greece.
Congratulations, Acupuncturists Without Borders, on this 20-year anniversary. I'm Amy Schrader from Minneapolis. I first volunteered with AWB in Nepal in 2015 after the devastating earthquakes. This is where I first met our visionary founder, Diana Freed. There were so many emotional moments during that trip. One man's words stuck with me. He spoke with us from the shambles of his home in a village outside of Kathmandu. He said that 8 organizations had shown up once, but he hadn't seen them since. He was feeling hopeless and forgotten. I traveled with Diana and then Executive Director Carla Kassler to Greece in early 2016. Working alongside these two was inspiring. We were focused on bringing our healing work into refugee camps forming in Greece by connecting with other aid organizations. Remembering the Nepali man's words and AWB's mission to provide ongoing support, I returned as team leader several times that year. Each time we returned, you could see a spark of recognition in the weary eyes of the refugee residents, a sense of hope, of being remembered, and that they mattered. We trained willing and gracious Greek acupuncturists that worked alongside us and continued working in the camps and in Athens. The camps were ever-changing. Our biggest challenge was finding space to hold our community healing sessions each time we were there. Our healing spaces were a quiet respite from the noise of the crowded living conditions without much privacy. That combination of the 5 ear points and sitting in stillness with community is powerful medicine. After one session, a young man thanked us and said that it was the first time in a long time that he had felt connected to his body. Another man said that he slept for 24 hours after a session. In May of 2020, George Floyd was killed by a Minneapolis police officer just 6 blocks from my home. Our community and city erupted into chaos. A mighty group of local acupuncturists were ready to step into action. We continued to support our community with our healing sessions every Sunday throughout that summer. I have worked alongside some of the most incredible volunteers with big hearts, courage, and compassion. And I have met such amazing people at the most vulnerable and ungrounded time of their life, some of whom have become lifelong friends. Thank you for the support of Acupuncturists Without Borders. Thank you to Diana Freed. What you have created and the impact of AWB is pretty incredible. And a big thank you to Carla for all your logistical and emotional support throughout our work together over the years. Congratulations to everyone on this 20-year anniversary.
The COVID pandemic brought an end to our direct service work in the camps, but local practitioners Irini Tsilifaki from Athens and Gaia Ivri from Israel took up the work, founding Alma Community Therapy. Today, Alma is an independent NGO that provides care for refugees and essential workers, serving as a vibrant center that cultivates community empowerment and solidarity. The Ukraine war escalated the refugee crisis in Europe exponentially. It also increased AWB's activism throughout the continent. Our experience in Haiti, Nepal, Israel, Palestine, and Greece helped us respond quickly and kept us focused on equipping local practitioners with the tools and resources that they needed to work effectively within their own communities. In 2022 and 2023, we invited practitioners from across the EU and UK to intensive training in Germany, Greece, and the Netherlands, and supported them in building national teams in their home countries to provide care for thousands of refugees and displaced people. Here is Corine Hielhausen, one of the current team leaders of AWB Netherlands.
Hi, My name is Corine Geelhuizen and I'm based in the Netherlands. For years, I dreamt of attending an Acupuncturists Without Borders training in the US, but it was always just out of reach. When the war in the Ukraine began and Acupuncturists Without Borders opened up online emergency trainings closer to home, I finally had a chance. I signed up immediately. My connection to this work is deeply personal. Both my parents lived through World War II. They were young then, but the trauma stayed with them for life. Later, I was in a relationship with a man who came to the Netherlands after surviving war. He suffered from PTSD and violent nightmares. I saw how much even basic acupuncture helped him. I often wish I had known about NADA back then. Maybe I could have done even more. Now, I finally can. In the Netherlands, much of the work we do is with refugees, people now living in shelter who have fled war, violence, oppression, and persecution, including because of their sexual orientations. These are people carrying deep trauma from places like Syria, Afghanistan, Sudan, Eritrea, and beyond. What is most moving to me is what happens during a clinic. People from different countries, cultures, languages, and religions sit quietly together in peace, side by side, in stillness. It's a powerful contrast to the chaos they have come from, and it touches me every single time. The gratitude is always humbling. The feedback after some session is often simple but profound. I finally slept. No more nightmares. My pain is less. I feel calm. These moments stay with me. This work with Acupuncturists Without Borders, with refugees, with people who carry deep trauma, has had a profound impact on my life. It means so much to finally be able to contribute in a real, tangible way, to offer something, even something small, that brings relief. It had also changed how I move through the world. I no longer stay silent. I speak up for refugees, for their humanity, for their dignity, because what I have witnessed through this work is resilience, strength, and a deep human need to be seen, to be safe, and to be healed. I'm honored to be a part of the Acupuncturists Without Borders. Thank you.
Closer to home, AWB's refugee support work in Greece informed our work in response to the humanitarian crisis unfolding at the US-Mexico border, where migrating people from Central and South America, Haiti, and African nations had come seeking asylum in the United States. In 2018, Nam Tu Tran, then a third-year acupuncture student and now an AWB board member, organized a year of mobile clinics for migrating people at the Matamoros-Brownsville, Texas border. Then, in 2019, we started working in Tijuana at the California-Mexico border with a group of amazing midwives called Parteras y Medicinas Ancestrales, led by midwife and community activist Jimena Rojas. Our collaboration continues to bring cross-cultural, heart-centered, trauma-informed care to vulnerable people in Tijuana with plans for expansion to other parts of Mexico. Yamin Chelchin is a part of the AWB cohort that travels regularly to Tijuana to work alongside the midwives, providing them with Chinese medicine training that complements their indigenous healing and ancestral midwifery practices.
My name is Yamin Chelchin. I am a licensed acupuncturist and a diplomat in Oriental medicine, and today I want to celebrate Acupuncturists Without Borders 20 years of good work. I've had the privilege of being with AWB, primarily supporting ancestral midwifery in Tijuana, Mexico, through Partería y Medicinas Ancestrales, a compassionate group of midwives dedicated to providing free health care to refugees, asylum seekers, and those impacted by poverty. My experience as a practitioner has opened my eyes to the profound ways Chinese medicine can complement the ancestral healing traditions of this region through acupuncture and herbal support. It has been heartwarming to see how people have responded in a good way to acupuncture treatments, finding relief both from physical and emotional pain, often wanting to return regularly for more healing. The hundreds of women I have met over these 4 transformative years have shared immense gratitude for the heartful care they have received. And as one patient put it, for standing by me in my pain and for empowering me to see myself beyond it. I look forward to continuing supporting Acupuncturists Without Borders in their quest to bring and practice the medicine of peace in our increasingly fractured world. I sincerely hope you feel the same way.
Two other core principles have guided AWB's work over the past 20 years. We only go where we're invited to serve, and we always collaborate with local partners. Our partnership with Liberty Rising and the Integrative Healers Action Network in Northern California embodies these values, showing how powerful true community collaboration can be. Together, we have developed significant collaborative programs in California, from treating firefighters and first responders to developing Collectivo Care, a long-term project that brings integrative, trauma-informed care to Central California farm workers, the essential workers who nourish our nation while facing immense challenges every day. Here's Melissa Collins from the Collectivo Care leadership team.
Greetings, AWB community. My name is Melissa Manning Collins. I am the co-founder and co-director of the Collectivo Care project. CARE, which stands for Community Alliance for Resilience and Equity, is a collaborative project by Acupuncturists Without Borders, the Integrative Healers Action Network, and my Santa Cruz community service organization, Liberty Rising. We began collaborating in 2020 during the CZU fire in Santa Cruz County, where we offered support to first responders and fire victims. In early 2021, our 3 organizations created the CARE Project. CARE's mission is to provide relief, recovery, and support to local communities affected by disasters, environmental devastation, poverty, and social injustice. CARE offers 3 monthly free community clinics. We provide acupuncture, chiropractic services, massage therapy, and health education to farm workers, low-income elderly folks, and other vulnerable community members along the Central Coast. Since its inception, CARE has provided over 10,000 free treatments. This work is powerful, heartwarming, and very necessary. I feel immensely grateful that AWB is fiscally sponsoring this project and that they are co-creating a functional framework and sustainable structure for CARE to fulfill our mission to bring trauma-informed integrative healthcare services to communities in need. Thank you, AWB, for all of the incredible support services you provide to communities across the globe.
For 20 years, AWB has connected practitioners, activists, and leaders around the world, helping to create a strong network of mutually supportive global healers. Here is midwife Jimena Rojas from Mexico, sitting with Nawal Awad, who trains practitioners in the West Bank, reflecting on their shared purpose to bring healing, resilience, empowerment tools, and love to their respective communities.
Hi everyone, it's wonderful to have AWB here in town because it reminds me of community support network and also to take care of each other and to look at each other and know that we're not alone, even though sometimes the work, the needs, the world can be overwhelming and the situations right now can be overwhelming and alarming, but it's good to continue doing the work. And I feel grateful that you're here, and this week we have been able to provide services, provide care for other people in the community, organizations, leaders of the organizations too. And also we have been training more midwives and more volunteers to keep doing this work, like the NADA protocol and use of different protocols to make sure we can continue doing this work at the shelters here at the border or everywhere in the community where the work is needed. So thank you for the support, and I pass the mic to Noah. Thank you so much for being here. It's an honor to have your presence here, to treat patients here, and it's amazing to connect our two worlds together.
Thank you. I feel we are the same heart.
Mm-hmm.
I follow my heart. I follow the calling of my heart that I need to be here because we are one.
Mm-hmm.
I have the same thing that I work with my community as a Palestinian in the West Bank and also with other women and other people. They are suffering from cancer and have pains and from trauma and anxiety, and I feel all the people they have around the world, they are suffering from trauma, and they need, and I feel the need of each other, of all these people. And especially now in our region there is war, and the most necessary, the most important to give the people our support. And please, I call you just to give us a support, then continuing do all these things in our community and in another places they need that everywhere for disaster and for help people to live in good condition and in salud and in peace.
Yes.
Thank you both for doing everything you do for the world.
Thank you. Thank you, Carla.
In AWB's 2 decades of work, we've made many, many mistakes along the way. Luckily, our organizational curiosity, desire to learn, and willingness to adapt have helped us evolve and grow. Staying on mission and keeping the following core guiding principles in focus have brought us to this day. These principles include treating everyone regardless of political and religious beliefs or affiliations, responding only when and where we are invited to serve, always striving to provide training along with direct service so that communities have tools to develop their own programs. They know what they need. Never working alone, always in teams, and with community partners on the ground. Using the sometimes meager resources we have to make the most significant impact. And above all, listening, learning, sharing, and showing up. People often ask us, given the trauma experienced by so many people, what can a few treatments do that will make a difference? Our answer is, trauma is at the root of many problems in the world. Healing trauma with this medicine is one of the antidotes. Each treatment is significant, potentially inspiring a sigh of relief, a breath of hope, a spark of resilience. And every act of care ripples outward, lifting individuals and families, restoring neighborhoods, rebuilding the fabric of community. Over 20 years, AWB has trained close to 10,000 practitioners. Many have gone on to volunteer their time and skill with profound love, compassion, and commitment, providing millions of treatments around the world. Their positive impact can't be measured, but it's surely profound. We want to thank the thousands of volunteers that have worked with AWB over the years, as well as our donors, sponsors, and community partners. You are the reason that we are here today. To keep the heart of AWB beating strong, we're taking the next step, creating the AWB Foundation. Its purpose is simple, to sustain those who sustain others. We've learned that while the volunteer model can be effective for short-term trauma healing responses, it isn't sustainable in the long run. Dedicated caregivers often face burnout or secondary trauma, and many simply can't afford to continue volunteering, especially in under-resourced communities. The AWB Foundation is dedicated to removing financial barriers that prevent AWB-affiliated practitioners from starting trauma healing projects in their own communities. In 2026, we'll launch the foundation by awarding 5 $1,000 seed grants to support local projects. As the foundation grows, we envision offering larger grants that will support practitioner teams leading long-term community-based initiatives. If you're interested in applying, please reach out to AWB. Details can be found on the AWB website. For 20 years, Acupuncturists Without Borders has shown what's possible when people lead with heart and keep showing up. We've done a lot with a little, and our story isn't finished. With your partnership, we can train more practitioners, reach more communities, and keep showing up as needed. Together, we can build a future where trauma meets hope, where healing endures, where compassion never runs out. Because when one person heals, families heal. When families heal, communities thrive. And when communities thrive, the world changes. Please lend your financial support to AWB and the development of the AWB Foundation as we head into our next 20 years. We extend our deepest respect and gratitude for you and all that you do to make the world a better place.